Hello everybody and welcome to BrickVault. I'm Charlie, aka Levelcap, aka Jack's brother. Many of you already know who we are, but for those of you who don't, we're a LEGO fan channel on YouTube. We have an awesome studio location in San Diego, California that we were setting up for in-person tours. Some members of the public have been able to see this tour already and it was awesome, but unfortunately we are not able to continue offering public tours. That being said, it seems like a huge waste not to share all of the cool stuff it offers with you guys. So if you're interested in seeing what has to be one of the biggest privately owned LEGO collections in the world, stick around. Now, I feel it's necessary to give you guys a quick history about us here in the studio. In 2015, my brother Jack and I started a YouTube channel in my garage based on our mutual passion for LEGO. It started off with mostly reviews, but quickly turned into custom building and collecting. We also have a web store, www.brickvault.toys, where we sell custom LEGO instructions. And one of my favorite aspects working in BrickVault is that we get to collaborate with many of the most talented creators from around the world to bring their amazing LEGO models to a wider market. We don't sell LEGO models themselves, but instead we sell digital instructions and part lists that can be used to order parts from websites like Bricklink. This has been a really fun expansion to our YouTube channel because it allows us to develop a close working relationship with top tier builders and help them share their creations with the world. We also get to build them and enjoy them ourselves, which I gotta admit is possibly one of the best perks of the job. And all of the LEGO models that you've been seeing in these two cases here are custom builds that we offer in the web store. We now have well over 100, which is really awesome considering we didn't start that long ago. Now, the model that actually inspired us to start a web store was this amazingly huge LEGO AT-AT. A designer who we now work with, Peter Brookdale, made this model, and I purchased a digital file from Peter back in 2015. Once I got the files from him, it became clear that the build process was going to be an absolute nightmare. The digital file was simply a model with no place to start the build process. And once you did get into it and start picking it apart to try and figure out how to build it, there was plenty of errors. And after struggling for 27 hours of building, we finally got it put together, but only after some extensive redesign. After this process, my brother Jack and I thought, what if we put together a store that can ensure a better process from start to finish, no matter who the designer was? So we started vetting builders, testing and creating step-by-step PDF instructions, and troubleshooting parts lists to make ordering as pain-free as possible. Now, when somebody buys instructions from our store, they might be choosing from a wide variety of different designers, but all the builds have been quality tested by us here at BrickVault to make sure that what you're getting is a good product. And ultimately, I think that's what really sets us apart from all the other digital marketplaces out there. We're not trying to grow as fast as possible. We're trying to offer the best products we possibly can from the best builders. All right, so enough about our online presence. What about our physical presence? This here is the build room. This is where all the real work happens. Although we do sometimes refer to it as the Brick Lab since it was actually used as a chemical lab by the previous tenants. Most of what you see in the rest of the studio was built in here, aside from some of the landscaping on the larger builds, which is just easier to do on location. A lot of our loose LEGO is stored in here, or at least the organized stuff is for the most part. It's hard to predict exactly how many bricks are in here, but I would guess anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million LEGO bricks in this room alone. We also use this room to store LEGO sets that we don't yet want to part down and models from our web store that haven't yet found homes in a display case. And of course we have a design computer and laptop for doing online work and also doing digital build work. A lot of what we do here requires designs to be completely done on computers before we actually attempt to build them in real life. This often allows us to save time in designing something as it can be quicker to stack and duplicate bricks on a computer than it is in real life. When a design is completed, we can then use the digital file to order the parts we need without ordering excess bricks. After that, we build the model physically and deal with any issues that might crop up from real-world stuff like tension, flexing, and general durability. Now, the next room on this tour is our extensive minifigure collection, but before we go in, I thought it might be nice to give a little bit of context to the LEGO minifigure itself. Here we have a small history of the LEGO minifigure display showing how it's evolved throughout the years. In 1956, we have the very first figures, not to be confused with minifigures. These were used in early LEGO sets that focused on mini city builds. I believe it's actually built to HO scale for the railroad scale. After that, LEGO built all of their figures out of bricks, but in 1974, we got the homemaker figure, or the maxi figure. That was basically the first figure to use non-brick shaped pieces for things like heads and hands, even though most of the body was still brick built. And in the same year, 1974, we got the Legoland minifigure that basically created a second standard for minifigures for smaller scale sets. They lacked arms, printed faces, and articulating legs. However, their heads and torsos closely resembled what is now the modern minifigure format. And then in 1978, LEGO developed what is basically now the modern LEGO minifigure. This is when LEGO standardized the basic minifigure design with printed faces and sticker details for the bodies. The initial wave included policemen, knights, town people, and astronauts. Initially, all the men wear hats and only the women got hair pieces, but later on the men also got their own hair pieces. LEGO then continued to evolve the minifigure and also try out different styles of figures. In 1979, we got the Fabuland figure, which actually continued on for about 10 years. They did use the LEGO standard, but had extremely large heads and bodies. In 1981, the basic figure, or finger puppet figure, was designed for children around the age of 3 and were a part of the basic LEGO line. In 1986, the Technic figure came out, which I personally really like, and they were used in Technic sets to fit bigger style vehicles, but unfortunately they were discontinued. I got my fingers crossed that maybe one day LEGO will bring them back. In 1989, LEGO starts to modify their minifigures using custom parts like a hook for a hand or a peg leg. In 1997, LEGO released the first racial fig, the Native American, or actually branded at the time as the Indian. Before this, all minifigures were intended to be racially neutral. In 1999, custom molded heads came out, the first one belonging to Jar Jar Binks, everybody's favorite character. LEGO also used the Star Wars line to experiment with new formats like battle droids and smaller astromech droids. In 2001, LEGO experimented with large figures intended for ages 4 and up. This is Jack Stone, which is basically the MacGyver of the LEGO universe. The line didn't really do that well and was discontinued in 2005. In 2003, we got the first flesh-colored minifigures. Shaq, Lando, and Han were 3 of the first. After 2003, pretty much all IPs that represented real people or movies with live-action actors, LEGO used realistic flesh tones. For all LEGO-based IPs though, LEGO still to this day uses yellow as a racially neutral skin tone, although I think maybe the Simpsons creators might disagree with that. In 2005, we got the first light-up LEGO minifigures that emit a light from their tool. Of course, the Star Wars ones were the coolest. In 2005, micro figures were introduced as board game figures, and these are primarily used as such, but occasionally made appearances as small statues. They were discontinued in 2014. In 2010, Nano Figures initially introduced the Marvel Helicarrier set. These figs are the smallest LEGO has ever created, even more so than the 1956 figs. These figs have been used as statues in architectural sets, minifigure scale trophies, Star Wars holograms, the tiny version of Ant-Man, and more. In 2012, LEGO released the Mini Doll. These more realistic looking figures were designed to cater to girls. Although they feature some interchangeable parts, the general customization is less than a standard minifigure. This line was met with some hostility at launch, claiming that it played into gender stereotypes. Regardless, LEGO has stuck with the theme, indicating that there's a significant demand for this alternative design. And in 2016, we got the first LEGO minifigure baby, which has been made with alternative onesies, but no other facial expressions as of yet. Alright, maybe that wasn't the briefest history of the LEGO minifigure, but if you're still with me, let's go into the display room. In here, we have one of the largest privately owned LEGO minifigure collections in the world, with approximately 4,000 LEGO minifigures in these displays alone. That means every minifigure that's come out with a certain collection or theme, as long as it's displayed here, we have the entire collection, including Star Wars, which is over 1,000 minifigures on its own. In the center of the room, we have an extremely large Star Wars themed diorama. This is the Rebel base on Yavin 4. It's one of the biggest Star Wars dioramas in the world. I served as the primary designer for the base itself, while builders from around the world designed the spaceships. The only thing non-custom here is the Millennium Falcon. And actually, I've got an entire video that goes into detail over Yavin 4, so I'm not going to spend too much time focusing on it here in the tour. I would recommend watching that video on its own. You can find it in the video description. That being said, if you think any of those spaceships on the tarmac look cool, well, we actually sell all the instructions in our web store, including the massive Ghost. Now let's talk about some of these minifigure collections. And it should be noted that each one of these collections has a dedicated video for it on our YouTube channel if you want more details. Why don't we begin with this display case here, showing off some extremely popular collections based on movies. We've got Ghostbusters up at the top. LEGO actually didn't plan on making any Ghostbuster sets until the fan Brent Waller submitted a custom Ecto-1, which is the Ghostbusters car, to the LEGO Ideas website. It received so much praise from the community that LEGO decided to turn it into an official set in 2014. Complete with the original movie cast minifigures. This was later followed by the Firehouse set and Revival 2016 Ghostbuster movie cast figures. Then we have this very small collection of Tron. This rather niche theme was designed by two fan builders, Tom and Drew from the YouTube channel Brothers Brick UK, who submitted it to LEGO Ideas in 2015 and got it successfully turned into an official LEGO set in 2018. Tron Legacy, although not a theatrical success in 2010, did still retain enough of a cult following to warrant this small official LEGO set. Personally, I would love to see the original Tron cycles turned into a set as well. We then, of course, have Back to the Future, the popular 1980s film trilogy that made the DeLorean automobile one of the most famous movie cars ever. And again, this was not going to become an official LEGO set until the fan base voted for it through the LEGO Ideas website. However, we replaced the official 2013 DeLorean model with one that we sell in our web store, as we just find it to be way more aesthetically pleasing than the one that LEGO released. Below that, we have the entire Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts collection. This began in 2001. LEGO released the first line of Harry Potter sets along with the first movie of the wildly successful franchise. To no one's surprise, the LEGO sets were also extremely popular, and they received updated sets with each of the 8 films all the way through till 2011. Harry Potter is one of the most reproduced characters in all of LEGO, and even with the launch of the new Fantastic Beasts movies, LEGO took the opportunity to redesign some of the classic Harry Potter sets with updated details and minifigures. Fun fact, the 2001 Professor Quirrell was the first minifigure with a dual-sided face print to reveal Voldemort on the back of his head. Later, LEGO implemented dual-sided face printing to many minifigures, offering just 2 different types of expressions. Moving on, we have all of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World minifigures. And although the first movie came out in 1993, we didn't really see any big official sets come until 2015. That being said, there were some sets released in 2001 that bore the Jurassic Park 3 label, and they were designed to showcase characters filming a movie with dinosaurs in it, but none of the characters featured anybody from the film. In fact, the main action hero is Johnny Thunder, who appears in many other sets of LEGO, including the LEGO Movie. In 2015, they came out with the Jurassic World sets. Unfortunately, none of them included the original film characters, but due to popular demand, in 2018 and 2019, LEGO revisited the original film material and released 2 very iconic sets with many characters from the first Jurassic Park. One of those sets is the 2019 Jurassic Park T-Rex Rampage, which certainly catches the eye with a massive brick-built Tyrannosaurus Rex. Moving on, we have the American classic Indiana Jones. Now, unsurprisingly, when these movies came out in the 1980s, LEGO wasn't yet in the habit of partnering with film labels, and it wasn't until the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008 that we got to see our first classic Indiana Jones set. With the unfavorable reviews of the newer movie, it's fortunate that LEGO chose to design many of their sets from the first 3 films. Moving on to the next display case, we've got more movies and some classic Disney. Starting off, we have Toy Story. As the world's first fully computer animated feature film, Toy Story was universally successful back in 1995. The first LEGO sets came to the market in 2009-2010 with the launch of Toy Story 3. Woody was the first LEGO minifigure designed with a custom long leg piece. And oddly, LEGO abandoned the long legs for the 2019 Toy Story 4 sets. Moving on to the Disney classics, the first plastic LEGO Disney figures were released in 2000 with minifigure-like characters marketed to the junior audience. These ones actually ended up being a little bit more fragile, where Mickey Mouse's nose tended to break off with a little bit of wear and tear. These were not continued, but they are kind of a unique figure. And it wasn't until 16 years later that LEGO released the first Disney-themed minifigures in an impressive Disney castle set. Since then, they've been adding to this collection with a series of collectible minifigures and a very expensive train set. Because of the hefty price point on some of these sets, the value of these figures will greatly increase over time. Moving down, we have both the LEGO Movie 1 and LEGO Movie 2. LEGO's first feature film, the LEGO Movie, was not only a box office hit in 2014, but it also spawned a wave of extremely fun and creative sets and some of our favorite minifigures. And because the film spans many different LEGO themes, we can enjoy Wild West robots, cartoon cats, wizards, and even the classic construction figures. LEGO took this opportunity to reimagine Benny, the original space minifigure, with a pre-broken chin strap, as this part would often break when playing with the original figure. The LEGO Movie 2 released in 2019, and although not quite as successful as the original, the LEGO sets that accompanied it were truly special in our opinion, and some of LEGO's finest work. Moving down, we have Pirates of the Caribbean following the film franchise, and this was a real treat to get as a LEGO enthusiast because classic Pirates was one of LEGO's earliest themes, and this was very much a cool reimagining of that within the Pirates of the Caribbean universe. And although LEGO didn't actually start producing these sets until the franchise was already on its fourth sequel, they did go back and do a lot of iconic sets from the original movies. In 2017, when the fifth film launched, LEGO released a Silent Mary ghost ship, which is not only the biggest of the theme, but it's a favorite among collectors. And the final collection in this case is Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. In the early 2000s, the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy took the fantasy world by storm. Later, when The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey was released in 2012, LEGO was ready with many iconic sets featuring scenes from both Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. In 2013, LEGO gave out an exclusive Azog minifigure at San Diego Comic-Con, which would typically be one of very few in existence. However, the exact same Azog figure was also produced as part of a Hobbit set, basically taking away much of its value. And now the only super valuable component of the Comic-Con exclusive is just the printed card back. Moving on to the next display case, this one was intended to be primarily TV show themed collections, but we've mixed a few extra things in there. For these smaller collections, I'm going to go through some of them relatively quickly. This is Doctor Who, where we get the 11th and 12th Doctor. We got them from both a LEGO Ideas set and some of the Dimension sets were built around this, so you could actually play as Doctor Who in a LEGO video game, which was kind of cool. We have Speed Racer, which was originally a cartoon show in Japan back in 1966, which is crazy to think about. The Speed Racer live action movie was released in 2008, along with a few sets. This movie flopped and the sets weren't too popular either. This is a custom built Speed Racer car that we actually sell in our web store. The Beatles, certainly not a TV show, but a very cool one-off collection. We've got Ringo, John, George, and Paul, plus the Nowhere Man and a yellow submarine. The members of the band are all made to look like they did in the trippy animated movie Yellow Submarine, which released in 1968. Powerpuff Girls, a 1998 to 2001 TV series that featured kindergarten-age sisters with superpowers. Just a few sets were released with the show reboot in 2017 and 2018. Up next is Scooby-Doo. This animated TV show that originally aired in 1969 has seen many reboots over the years. Several sets were released with one of the show reboots that aired in 2015. Not only did they feature the whole gang and the Mystery Machine, but also some of their more kooky villains. The Flintstones, this popular animated sitcom from the 1960s, has spawned many reboots and even a few live-action movies. This single Flintstone set was voted into existence via LEGO Ideas and was released in 2019. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is definitely one of the most valuable collections in this case. It's been a pop culture staple since the 1980s. It spans 4 animated series, 6 films, and many comic books. LEGO finally got on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle bandwagon in 2012 with 2 incredibly rare Comic-Con exclusive minifigures never sold in stores, Shadow Leonardo and Krang. According to LEGO, there are only 300 to 400 of them in existence. In 2014, an entire wave of sets was released to accompany the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie that was also released that year. Next up is The Simpsons. It's hard to not know what this show is, with the first season kicking off in 1989. The Simpsons is now the longest running American sitcom. In 2014, LEGO released the first ever Simpsons set, featuring the iconic Simpsons house from the show and a series of collectible minifigures. The release was successful enough to warrant a follow-up Quickie Mart set and a second round of collectible figures in 2015. SpongeBob SquarePants is the highest rated show to air on the Nickelodeon network and has gained a fan base from young to old. LEGO produced the first SpongeBob sets in 2006, most of which are now incredibly rare to find in good condition. Next up, we have the TV show Stranger Things. Following the incredible success of the 1980s themed sci-fi horror show, LEGO produced a single set in 2019 along with a Comic-Con exclusive minifigure for the character Barb. This is arguably one of LEGO's most mature themes, aimed more toward the adult collector's market. In 2015, LEGO released a single Big Bang set featuring the cast of the popular TV show, and there's a lot of fun Easter eggs in this set, making it great for collectors. And in the same vein, the Central Perk set released in 2019 with the 25th anniversary of the TV show Friends gives us the entire cast along with the Central Perk Cafe. Next, we have Overwatch. LEGO's first big partnership with the game studio Blizzard created a single set in 2008 of the robot character Bastion from their hit video game Overwatch. And in 2019, LEGO released a wave of sets which included both minifigures and brick-built figures to round out the rest of the popular game characters. Also, we got a special prototype tracer that came with golden pistols that is not even on the market anywhere, so this one is super rare. Moving on to our next display case, we have Marvel Comics. Marvel is a brand name recognized worldwide for many iconic comic book characters developed since the early 20th century, and of course the hugely successful movies that started in the 2000s. Spider-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, and the X-Men have become household names, and naturally that made them great candidates for LEGO sets. Spider-Man led the way with the first 2002 Marvel sets. These figures have the classic yellowhead look, as LEGO didn't transition Marvel to natural skin tones until 2004. Now, normally we keep our Comic-Con exclusives in these cases, but since we stopped doing the tours, we took them out of them and kind of hid them away because, well, they're worth tens of thousands of dollars, and I just didn't feel super safe about leaving them there. But if you want to see all of our Comic-Con exclusives, we do have a video dedicated to those. Up next, we have Minecraft, the video game that has to be one of the greatest success stories of all time. Initially designed by a single Swedish programmer, Marcus Persson, aka Notch, the game became an overnight success when it was first made available in 2009. 5 years later, Microsoft acquired Minecraft for $2.5 billion and has expanded its reach in all areas of gaming and merchandise. However, even before this acquisition, the first LEGO Minecraft sets had already been released in 2012. Minecraft, with its blocky aesthetics, made a perfect integration for the LEGO franchise, and the sets have been hugely successful. LEGO even designed new custom block-shaped heads for the minifigures. Moving on, our next display is entirely dedicated to DC Comics. DC Comics is credited with creating some of the world's most popular superhero characters, such as Batman, Superman, Aquaman, The Flash, Green Lantern, and many more. The very first DC sets in 2006 focused on the Batman universe. In fact, Batman is the single most reproduced and reimagined character in all of LEGO. Being some of the most popular superheroes of all time, it's not a surprise that LEGO minifigures have also been very successful with fans. Moving down, the LEGO Batman movie became the second theatrical release for the LEGO franchise in 2017, featuring a wide array of popular actors such as Will Arnett, Michael Cera, and Rosario Dawson. The movie was a box office hit. Along with it came one of the largest boosts to the DC Comics minifigure collection with nearly 150 unique characters, including some ridiculous Batman suits and some of Batman's weirdest villains. Moving on, our next display case is completely dedicated to Ninjago, one of LEGO's most successful original themes ever. It follows the exploits of a group of teenage ninjas battling against the forces of evil. They also use giant robots, because why not? The playset's first released in 2011 alongside the animated TV show of the same name. Intended to last only 3 seasons, the huge popularity resulted in a continuation of the TV series and has transformed the theme into one of LEGO's longest lasting and fastest growing. The unique art direction introduced many new fun minifigures like the Serpentine Snake People. Sensei Wu was also the first minifigure to use the Asian conical hat, often referred to as a rice hat or farmer's hat, in 2011. In 2017, LEGO released their third fully animated feature film, the LEGO Ninjago Movie, to further expand the universe. With the film came some truly amazing sets, including 2 modular buildings that fit into the standard modular city layout. Now, our next 2 display cases are 100% dedicated to Star Wars. And frankly, we could have dedicated more, but we had to kind of hold back a little. Star Wars was the first officially licensed theme in LEGO and is now the biggest LEGO theme alongside things like LEGO City. With hundreds of sets and over 1,000 different minifigures released, LEGO Star Wars shows no signs of slowing down. New sets and redesigns of classic sets continue to be popular, and the value of old minifigures appreciates better than any other theme. The first Star Wars sets released in 1999, along with the prequel trilogy film Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Both the original trilogy and prequel trilogy sets were massively popular from the start. The Star Wars theme also brought many innovations to pieces made for minifigures. In 1999, the first minifigures with different shapes of molding were introduced with Jar Jar Binks' custom head and the new Battle Droid body design. In 2002, Yoda was the first minifigure to use a new short leg piece, which has since been used to represent children. In 2003, Lando Calrissian became one of the first ever black minifigures as LEGO transitioned to representing natural skin tones. Now, in case any of you guys are wondering what the rarest minifigure is in this entire collection, it's the 2007 Chrome C-3PO that was released as a special surprise in random LEGO sets. Not many were distributed, and it's currently one of the most valuable Star Wars minifigures. Now, this Star Wars collection is complete in terms of what has actually been available to the public. However, LEGO has also created what are essentially unattainable minifigures in the Star Wars universe. A solid gold C-3PO from 2007, a solid gold Boba Fett, a platinum R2-D2, and more round out the list of truly rare minifigures, most of which belong to unknown individuals, and some have been estimated to be worth $15,000, if not more. Moving on, we have our space case. Now, space themes have been central to the LEGO product since 1979. The original space theme with red, yellow, blue, black, and white astronauts is remembered fondly by fans and now referred to as classic space. Each new theme of space sets often came with large spaceships, moon bases, exploration rovers, and more. And going over the different themes, I think it's really cool how LEGO actually tied many of them together within the same universe. In 1987, we got Blacktron. These guys featured sleek black spaceships with black spacesuits. They are considered to be the bad guys of space. During the same year, we also got Futuron. This theme consisted of peaceful explorers who had to contend with the Blacktron baddies. In 1989, we get the Space Police, which became the go-to protectors of the universe. In 1990, we've got Mtron, which was marketed as a space mining faction and introduced magnets to increase the play potential. It was actually marketed differently depending on which country you lived in, which is interesting. In 1991, we got Blacktron Future Generation, which gave the popular Blacktron color theme a makeover with new neon green windows and white trim. 1992, we got Space Police 2, which, just like Blacktron, got a new color makeover with the classic looking black and gray bricks with green canopies. In 1993, we get Ice Planet 2002, which was actually one of my favorites when I was a kid. These guys are a civilian space affiliate conducting research in rocket science, which takes place exclusively on an ice planet for whatever reason. In 1994, Spirius, the red and black group of spies, got all the cool toys. They also introduced the first minifigure androids. I also was a huge fan of this particular set when I was a kid. In the same year, we also got Unitron, the galactic good guys who mostly just like moonside monorails. I guess Spirius had to fight someone. In 1996, we get Explorians, and big surprise, in case you haven't guessed it from their name, these guys like to explore and dig up space fossils. In 1997, LEGO came out with RoboForce. These guys drove big robots and fought things. And in the same year, we get the UFO theme. This is the first space theme to feature aliens and large curved pieces to emphasize the round designs of their ships. In 98, we get Insectoids. These guys operated insect-like vehicles and featured minifigures with cybernetic implants. In 2001, we get the Life on Mars theme, gotta love the name, which was the first space set to depict a peaceful coexistence between human explorers and Martians. And in 2007, not to put too fine a point on it, the Mars mission theme basically does away with all that peace nonsense, showcasing a group of astronauts fighting hostile aliens on Mars. In 2008, we get a weird Star Justice theme that was just basically a single set that came out with a base, spaceship, and moon rover. In 2009, we get Space Police 3. This theme gives us more cops in space, and we even get to see LEGO's very first space pimp, complete with purple suit. This was actually a really fun theme. In 2011, we get Alien Conquest, which built a theme around the premise of Earth defending against an alien invasion, complete with face-hugging aliens, tripods, and flying saucers. And in 2013, we get Galaxy Squad, showcasing a galactic group of human and robot defenders fighting against an insectoid alien race. Now, there's been plenty of other sets that involve rocket launches and a little bit of space travel, but the more realistic stuff gets lumped into the city category. So like right now, there's a bunch of cool rocket launch sets and satellite or even moon rover type stuff, but it's been lumped under the guise of LEGO City as opposed to any sort of space theme. All right, let's move into the next room of the tour. This is a converted warehouse where we can show off some of our bigger dioramas. In the back, we actually have an entire wall built out of what is called Everblocks, which are these large plastic bricks that can be used for building cubicles, play structures, office space stuff, whatever you need. They're pretty cool. I really like building with them. But let's take a look at some of the LEGO stuff in here. Starting off on the left, here we have our Mad Max collection. All of these models are sold in the web store BrickVault.toys, and I just love the new Mad Max movie. The aesthetics, the car design of it is phenomenal. So many of these have been done in LEGO. I think these ones are absolutely phenomenal, and having them all together just really sets the scene for one of those crazy chases through the desert. And staying within the desert theme, we have one of our larger mocks that we sell in the web store, the giant sandcrawler. Built to minifig scale, you can see just how big this thing is when compared to, a little hut in the desert. Jack built a nice little diorama around it. We also have a land speeder that we sell in the web store as well, but this is just such a cool mock. It's actually rigged with motors, so it can open and close the front door, and it can technically drive, though I wouldn't recommend it. Things start falling off left, right, and center. So to keep this thing in one piece, I recommend just putting it on display somewhere. Moving along, we have what is possibly one of the most detailed and part-intensive models that we show off in our tour or have available to build in our web store. This is a Star Destroyer, the Eviscerator to be specific, and it goes way beyond a LEGO Ultimate Collector set when it comes to detail and accuracy. Not only that, but most of it is studless, giving it an appearance that it's almost not LEGO at first glance. This build took forever. It's incredibly durable internally, a very strong model surprisingly, and just immaculate design details. The building techniques will also teach you a lot about LEGO as you put it together. I absolutely love this model, and I haven't seen a Star Destroyer better than this one out there. We also have a nano fleet that scales perfectly alongside this Star Destroyer if you want to set up your own little space battle diorama. Next up, we have an incredible Death Star diorama on loan to us from Mark B. He lives in Las Vegas and was kind enough to bring this entire thing down for us to display in our studio, and it is one of my favorite Star Wars dioramas. Mark builds huge things out of Legos. This Death Star, believe it or not, actually has a fairly small footprint compared to Mark's other Star Wars dioramas. He's done a huge Endor. He's also done a massive Battle of Hoth, which I guess he's making larger right now, which is absolutely insane to think of. And he's also working on some other extremely large scale stuff. I highly recommend checking out his Flickr if you want to see a builder just taking things to the max. Now this Death Star is meant to be displayed with the Millennium Falcon, though we have the Millennium Falcon on our Yavin diorama at the moment. We filled up the hangar bay with several different types of TIE fighters designed by the builder Jarek. And walking around the exterior of this diorama, you can see just about every single scene that occurs in the Death Star. We've got the trash compactor scene, we've got the round table scene where Vader chokes a guy out, we've got some of the artillery cannons mounted in the side of the Death Star. We've even got some made up stuff that Mark really had a lot of fun with, like a cantina area, an arcade, and so on and so forth. This is definitely one of those Lego creations that is just so much better to see in person to really absorb all the nuance and detail Mark was able to cram in here. Moving around the backside here, we've got 3 Ultimate Collector Series scale Battlestar Galactica ships. Of course, we have to have the Viper here. These ones are designed by David DePeron, with the smaller minifig scale one designed by Flying Waffle. And for any fan of Battlestar Galactica, these MOCs are just the ultimate display pieces, although they are quite large. Finding a good spot to place the Cylon Raider or the Raptor is pretty difficult. They're just so big, but when you see them in person, the detail really is just incredible. I love building at this scale. I love seeing giant builds at this scale, and these ones are the best that I have seen. And again, we do sell these ones in the web store if you're interested in creating some nice display pieces. Now moving over to our final display piece, we have our modular city. This, if you've been following our channel for several years, you might have seen several different iterations of it in the past. This is definitely our most advanced iteration of it, and what I love about this layout is that it is truly modular. We can remove buildings, replace them with different structures, change the layout of the city pretty significantly. It's just fun still having that level of creativity in a highly detailed layout. One of the more recent additions to this city is the beach scene, which I personally designed and really enjoyed doing the gradients and the water levels out front and setting up some really fun beach scenes. We were even able to integrate this Lego idea set to the shoreline here and make it make sense. There's a work in progress mountain range towards the back, which again is still modular. You can still add or remove buildings from the top part of it. And there were big plans on making a longer elevated rail system connect to larger parts of the city. It would be nice to pick this project back up perhaps at a future date, but as for the time being, this is sort of our iteration or our final iteration of the modular city. I love the look of it. It's kind of a mixture of Lego sets and our own custom modular builds that we sell in the web store. The large Tribune Tower here, which is based on the Oakland Tribune Tower, is one of my personal favorites. I designed it along with another builder by the name of Sean, and it really is truly awesome to see in person, and I think it fits really nicely with the other modular buildings. It's not so tall that it looks out of place, but it's big enough to give you a cool skyscraper that gives your city skyline a little bit more of a natural look. And that pretty much concludes our walkthrough tour of the BrickVault private collection. Again, there's dedicated videos to each of the dioramas or custom builds that you've seen here on our YouTube channel. You can easily search for them on our YouTube channel and find more detail and more depth if you're looking for that. For example, I recommend definitely checking out the Yavin one if you want to know a bit more about that build process. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and although many people will not be able to see this in person, we're happy that we've been able to put together some sort of virtual tour for you guys to see just what we've been working on all this time. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time here at BrickVault.